Finally, it's that day. You worked hard on your music, you got all the stuff prepared, you're ready to drop your grooves live on unsuspected and suspected audiences everywhere. You get to the venue, you get the stuff out. What do you need to do first? Well, maybe something like a sound check. Every time I perform with my band, we gotta do that. And when you're DAWless, you can't preset everything. There has to be adjustments that you make at the venue right before your performance. So today I'm going to show you how I do that and take you step by step through a DAWless sound check. Come along for the ride. See you on the other side. All right, here we are, getting ready for the gig. We set up our instruments and we have a mixer. So I'm basically assuming that you have multiple groove boxes or synthesizers, maybe analog, maybe digital, and that you have a mixer. And when you get to the performance place, you need to plug this mixer into something. There's probably two main types of settings where one can perform live. If you're like me, you probably did lots of house parties. If that's the case, then this is really going into a smaller sound system, something maybe like a commercial stereo. Or if you're at a more professional venue or at a big festival, you're going to a massive sound system with limiters and compressors and great bass reproduction. In that case, we want to handle the output from here a bit differently. So what are the key steps for a DAWless sound check? Well, let's look at things. First, extremely important is gain staging. Now, if you're new to gain staging, sort of routing and managing audio signals, please check this video out. I break down step by step what you need to do to gain stage when you're DAWless and not using a computer. So we'll talk about that. That's the first part. After we gain stage, we got to think about stereo imaging and whether the left-right signals are arranged properly. And finally, we want to ensure a pretty stable static mix. So as we play with the filters and change project, we don't have any runaway signals that blow things up. So let's get started. First, what do we have here? Here's a little tune I put together. Okay, so let's say I want to kind of open with that and maybe transition into a different track. How can we set things up in our sound check so that it all goes smoothly? So here we go. Number one, gain staging. Gain staging is all about making sure that the levels of signals when they're coming into the mixer are sufficiently strong and that when they're leaving the mixer are not either not boosted enough or overly boosted. This is a digital sound source. As a result, the volume here is on maximum. So if we kill, for example, this synth, we're just gonna go listen to this. So this is just the digital synths and samples from circuit tracks. Unity gain here. Okay, I already set the preamplifiers to be at the right level. And here, we're just touching 0. So this is at about the right level. Again, master fader is at unity gain. Now, an interesting issue here is we have an analog sound source here, but that sound source is routed through circuit tracks and then going through the mixer. So when you have a situation like this, we really want to make sure that this maximum is set before it goes in here. So if we're changing patches or projects here, we don't suddenly get to a really loud level. So let me give you an example of that. So now we can hear the groove and we can hear this synth playing. Volume sounds okay, but what happens when I switch projects? Whoa, so what happened here? Well, what happened here is that I had this on a maximum signal level coming in, and then I used the mixing control on this groove box to set it lower. But then when I switched project, because the way this works, it reverted to the maximum level for this channel. So better way to handle this to prevent this from happening is go back to our first project. Okay. We're going to turn the volume down here. So I have a maximum volume on the channel when the synth is coming in. This is right about the maximum I would want. So now notice, so what's going to happen now? Now when we switch projects, we're not going to have this huge increase in volume. Just listen. Right? So fairly smooth transition in terms of volume levels. Okay. So that's gain staging in terms of this synth. This is an analog synth, but it's going through digital effects. So unity gain on the channel faders. Again, I already did some preamps here. We're looking where we are on the master output. We're a little too hot. A little too hot. Okay, these gains look okay. So we've kind of done our gain staging. We know what a maximum level of signal is, and we know it shouldn't run away from us as we move through our pieces. Number 2, stereo imaging. So normally you're likely to have your panning set at the center, right? So it means this channel is evenly spread out from right and left. Basically mono, this channel is mono, and so forth. So if we play something like this, okay, that sounds fine, right? I have both channels are coming out, but it's not really fine, right? Because we have not panned the left and right channels appropriately. So if you listen carefully, you'll notice that everything's in the middle. We basically have a mono situation. So what do? We want to make sure the left is panned left and the right is panned right. So now we have achieved that stereo image. So even with this synth, which has a ping pong delay, but you'd never know it for the same reason. Now you can hear the stereo sweeping. So really important to remember if you're using the mono channels for the stereo inputs to pan this. Okay, that was number 2. Number 3, working on some kind of a static mix, right? So certainly during your live set, you're likely to open up filters, deal with those kinds of things. So you want to make sure that your things are set up pretty close to where the levels need to be. So again, if I go back to this track, let's just go from the kick forward, and let's put all this maximum here, right? So first thing we can hear that this arpeggio is too loud relative to the kick. Now kick is in maximum here. If we're looking at velocities, we're almost hitting maximum velocities. So we could potentially increase these velocities, but I generally like them to not be quite up at 100%. So as we talked about earlier, we need to go here, because this synth is coming through this MIDI channel 1, pads. Again, now pads are drowning the kick. Percussion. Too loud, right? This is kind of a shimmer pattern. Just create some drive. We want to put in a background. Somewhere there. Too loud again. Okay. Now notice that these channel levels are getting saved with this project in this particular groove box. Now the bass, right? Bass is always tricky. I would say the bass is slightly too loud. Lead. Now, one thing to pay attention to when you have analog synths with filters like this is that the total strength of a signal can really increase as you open up the filter. So you want to make sure that when we even completely open, it doesn't run away in terms of the level. And if we are concerned, we can always reduce this mix by affecting the channel on a mixer. Okay, so those are the key steps, right? Number one, we got to make sure our gain staging is right. Number two, we want to make sure our stereo image is correct. And number three, we want to make sure that our statics mix is pretty close to what we will need, okay? And a final point about transitions, right? So as we move through different projects, you're probably moving through different patches. On this synth, you may even require a bit of a different mix. So let's see what happens with that. I already showed you one potential snag, right? And that's when you have an internal instrument that's sort of going through the summing mixer before it's going through the main mixer. And remember the principle that it's always better to set kind of your maximum ceiling on the source here. We're doing a little transition here. Right, so this was a pretty seamless transition. All right, one bonus point. Remember the sound systems that this is going to? Kind of a big sound system at a venue with tons of limiters, compressors, and a great bass reproduction versus sort of a commercial system, a house party. Well, if you're going into a huge system, I would definitely keep those levels here below 0 or by 0, because there's going to be lots of gain and amplification that big system is going to give you. Now, if you're doing a house party, I would definitely boost certainly percussion going a bit over 0 here. You want to get juice, maybe even some distortion, but not too much when you're going into that system. Hope this is useful. Please put things down in the comments if you have your own struggles or tips about how to do a DAWLESS sound check. See you on the other side.